You can watch the show on our YouTube channel. Search Out of Bounds Sports. This is the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. The Out of Bounds Show is driven by your next John Deere tractor or John Deere lawnmower at Mississippi Ag. 16 locations. Go to agup.com. Find the retail location nearest you. The one nearest us in Canton and then in Pearl. agup.com. Mississippi Ag for your next John Deere tractor. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. We want to welcome in Steve Spurrier Jr., wide receivers coach at Mississippi State. Coach, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Bo. Doing well. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing well. Did you know that it's Darius Rucker's birthday? And I know as a South Carolina Gamecock, you know that guy, right?
Yeah, we do. No, he was one of the best. He played often there. I'll never forget our first spring game. He played the opening to the spring game. So we charged admissions. We charged about $10 a ticket. I think we had 30,000 there, and he was playing live on the field while we were doing warm-ups before our first spring game. Now he's obviously a great artist and really a good man, a good Gamecock. So it was fun to get around him.
Did you ever have an opportunity to play golf with him?
You know what, I didn't. We played in his tournament once over there in Myrtle Beach. He runs the event. And then saw him at a bunch of celebrity functions that he played in that my father played in. But never got the opportunity to play with Darius.
Now, do you like golf as much as your dad?
No, I don't. But I do like it a lot, if I could put it into context. I was raised and got the opportunity to play with my father a good bit and always loved it and have had the opportunity to play some fun courses, play with some really neat people, but was never the 100% true competitor that my father was in the game. He still loves it pretty much to this day.
Steve Spurrier Jr. on the Miller Lite, Coors Light guest line. You're listening Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. So what's the coolest course you played?
Went to Ireland and played several of those, and that's a pretty cool experience in itself. But there's a course called Old Head there, southwest corner of Ireland, and it's on a little peninsula. And there's when you walk into the clubhouse, it says on holes 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 18, if you get too close to the cliff and fall over, we're not held responsible. And that's how many holes are on the ocean.
Gosh.
And, I mean, they're right on the edge. And, I mean, literally, they say if the fog comes in, sit down. Don't start walking anywhere. You got to sit down. And you'll go straight over. So I always thought that was a pretty cool place to play.
That is wild. Wow, that is wild. Steve Spurrier Jr. on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. So you've been coaching for a long time, and coaches are used to having a very active, full schedule. Has this been – I mean, it's been surreal for all of us, but as an assistant who is used to coaching spring practice, recruiting, during the season you're blowing and going, has this been one of the most odd times in your life, Steve?
Well, sure it has, but it has for everyone. I'm sure everyone in about every field and every profession feels a strange world that we're living in. So that's certainly no different for me. Our challenge is, like yours and like everybody else's, is to identify what we can do in this time and try to maximize our opportunities to do that. So, we still have a full day of challenges on how we manage our own team, how we manage our signees, how we manage our recruiting, and how we're going to continue that effort. So there's still a lot going on. We stay active every day, and there's a lot of different communication that goes on to how this week needs to be better than last week and how we can accomplish that. Did you
work with Mike Leach for a year at Oklahoma before he took the Texas Tech job, Steve?
I did. That's my tie to Coach Leach. When I was a graduate assistant coach with my father at Florida in 1996, 7, 8, and then Coach Stoops got the head coaching job at Oklahoma, and I went with him to take that job. And he hired Mike Leach as the offensive coordinator for 1 year before we went to Texas Tech for 10 years. So, yeah, that's where I crossed paths with Coach Leach.
So you knew all about the fun and gun and your dad's offense, and you walk in at Oklahoma, and you get to see the air raid. Walk me through the similarities.
Well, not a lot. You try to throw the ball more than you run it. Of course, Leach tries to throw it a lot more than he runs it. But other than that, some of the base concepts and how we teach it and install it is quite different. It's kind of hard to describe all the things that are different in the way that it's coached. But both of them, try to spread it out, and both of them require a quarterback that knows how to throw the ball and throw completions and make decisions. And, that's where the real commonality lies, is in a really good quarterback.
Hey, everybody talks about the simplicity of Leach's system, and that's a good thing, that people say the simplicity. Like, we've had B.J. Simmons on, who played for him at Texas Tech recently, and he talked about it. Do you agree with that this is a simple offense?
I do in the way that I've been involved in complicated ones that are specific about every formation and every motion and every shift and every personnel and every protection and then next week you'll have new plays you put in. Now I have a new system and a new protection and a new play action and a new. So in that regard, it is simple because it doesn't change. This is the base concepts. These are the amount of plays that we have. Here's how we're going to run them. And again, if you think about it, we have no tight ends and we have no fullbacks. So that changes a lot of just what you can do in the run game and in the pass game and in pass protections. So we don't go over all that all the time. I mean, if you're a team that plays with a tight end and a fullback, I mean, you talk about every 8-9 man protection you have, and you go over all that stuff. We don't do that. We have 5 linemen and a running back. We have a 5-man and a 6-man protection, and that's it. And that's all we practice. So in that regard, it's a lot simpler than other offenses that I've been around.
In 1999, when you joined the Oklahoma staff and Leach was the OC, what was your initial reaction once you wrapped your brain around the offense, Steve?
You know what? These are some really interesting stories. Mark Mangino was the offensive line coach. Cale Gundy, who's still at Oklahoma, was running back coach. And Coach Leach really didn't have a track record. Hal Mumme was the offense coordinator. Hal Mumme called plays. Coach Leach was receiver coach, co-offense coordinator. So when he showed up, we're like, do you have a playbook? He says, no. We're like, do you have anything written down? Nope, nothing written down. Do you have any tape we can watch? He goes, sure. So he brings us all these VHS tapes, and it's Tim Couch, Kentucky, and Tim Couch is running all over the place throwing the ball. But when he started installing it, and, Coach Leach is left-handed, so when he draws on the board, he kind of draws funny. And we all sat there and watched him. It was interesting watching it get installed and talk about it. But as we got into the spring, and, Josh Heupel was the quarterback we just signed, and, you watch kind of how it unfolds and how the QB makes decisions and how he makes reads, and you watch it all come together. That was a neat 3-4 months of spring ball right there.
When let's talk about Gardner Minshew. He's from here. And so y'all land him, and did you know right off the bat that he would be a guy that could not just run the offense, but had an opportunity to have a monster year?
No, and I don't think anyone did. He came, and I remember when we watched the tape and we talked about him, and we called the coaches at East Carolina, and and he's a good player, a good guy, he's a smart guy. We're trying to go to we want a quarterback that can run the ball. We're going to run the zone read and do this and that. So we're kind of changing the direction we go. So, they were positive about him, but they obviously didn't think he could help them win games. So but what he did and how he threw the ball, we were impressed, and we needed a quarterback. We did not have a quarterback on our roster at Washington State that had taken a snap. We didn't have a quarterback there, so we needed someone. And however we tracked him down and identified him and went after him was kind of a neat series of events. And then, he couldn't graduate early, so he wasn't there at all for any spring football at all. He showed up in May, and in the summer spent a little time with some of the coaches around, some of the other players. And even as we got into the preseason, he was still competing with Anthony Gordon, who had a hell of a year this year. So he wasn't named the starter till a couple weeks before the first game. But as things went on and you watched him play, and really you watched him lead, and you watched his toughness, and I mean he had a will and desire to win that carried people with him, and he was special without a doubt. But for us to win 11 games there at Washington State, the most in school history, was really a cool season to be a part of.
Steve Spurrier Jr. on the Coors Light guest line, wide receivers coach for Mississippi State, started working for Mike Leach in 1999 when Leach was the OC at Oklahoma before taking that was Bob Stoops. And then, of course, Leach takes the job at Texas Tech as the head coach the next year, and the rest is history. Blake, do you have a question for Steve Spurrier Jr.?
Yeah, I do. Coach Blake Scott here.
Yep.
One of the big conflicts or things that Mississippi State fans have been interested in the Mike Leach offense is schematically, how will it help an offense that struggled to move the ball downfield without handing it off in the last couple seasons? Is there something to be said about your scheme, offense, the Leach system, the way you work with receivers, that you believe you can elevate the talent given to you regardless of what their past production might be?
Well, the greatest thing we have going for us is Coach Leach's track record. I mean, everywhere he's been, everything he's done, every first season he's had has been good. And what he has done numbers-wise, especially when he's had a pretty good quarterback. So for us to have the opportunity to bring KJ Costello in, and we expect good things from him, we think we can get out there and start installing this offense and throwing completions and start playing, regardless of what's gone on here in the past. We do have a great running back, and that's one of the interesting dynamics that we're trying to figure out. But if you look at our numbers, especially at Washington State the past few years, our running back has led our team in receptions the past 3 years at Washington State.
Wow.
So he's going to get his touches. He will get the ball in his hand. And I always tell that when I recruit receivers, I always, when I start talking about numbers and passing and all this stuff, recruiting receivers is pretty fun. And I kind of make fun of the running back coach because how does he sell out running the ball? And that's not what he sells. He sells, here's the number of times a game you're going to touch the ball, which is more than anyone else on offense. And here's where you get it. You're going to get it over here in space. And it is. It's special. If that running back is a good athlete and gets the ball kind of out there to the field with one guy in front of him instead of about 12 or 13, he's pretty excited about that. So our running backs are a key part to our offense, but there's a lot of keys to how we throw the ball and throw completions and execute what we're doing on offense.
Steve Spurrier Jr. with Hail State football and the Out of Bounds show. What you just described is where the NFL has gone, Steve.
It is, and it was fun watching LSU. How does LSU just become the greatest football team ever last year, or the greatest football team last year, and they're throwing it everywhere. And, they've always had good receivers. They've always had an impressive offense, and now they've got a quarterback, and they're letting him play. So that's what we hope to do. We hope to give a quarterback the opportunity to get back there and play and throw the ball. And if running the ball is a good option for us, we always give him that option. But, yeah, for a quarterback to make decisions and be able to throw the ball and throw completions that's a trait that can carry you for about 10 more years.
Wow. How big was that to land KJ Costello in the offseason?
You know what? That was pretty big. You need a guy there that knows what he's doing. You need a guy there that's had some experience. And, again, throwing the ball, making decisions, understanding how defenses play, and all that. So, no, that was obviously when we first got here, we knew that was an important task. We had to find a guy that has played quarterback in a throwing system that was prepared to come in here and throw the ball 60, 70 times a game. And we believe KJ's really ready to do that.
And you got to see him play because they're in the Pac-12 North, and especially his 2018 season, his 19 season he was injured, but 18, he had a hell of a year, didn't he, Steve?
He did. He had an excellent year. I think we beat him 38-35, maybe something along those lines in Stanford. But, we've watched him play a lot of games, and I think Coach Leach, those guys recruited him when he came out of high school. So we had a little bit of a relationship with him. He was good friends with actually a couple players on our team that were kind of from his hometown. So we knew of him. We'd gotten on the phone and spoken to him a good bit, and his personality's the type that you want at that position. And, no, we're excited to get him here, really are.
Steve Spurrier Jr. on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. He joins us on the Coors Light guest line. The show is driven by your next John Deere tractor at Mississippi Ag. Blake?
Yeah, Coach, this may be, I guess, passé to say, but it seems like it's obvious what you guys look for in a quarterback. What do you look for in a receiver, and how do you plan to recruit, I guess, or do you plan to recruit a different type of receiver to Mississippi State than what maybe you walked into?
Interesting.
Yeah, and we actually have some pretty talented guys. I'm looking forward to kind of working with the guys. We got, of course, Malik Heath, the junior college player we signed, but Cyrus Mitchell is another guy that we hope can have a big year. I tell you, the one thing we do have, we've got a lot of big receivers. I mean, we've got 3 or 4 6'3", 220 guys. Cam Gardner is another, just a big guy. So we'll probably try to sign a little bit smaller, quicker, faster guy. But there's also a strong need for guys that are big and can run down there and shove guys around and get open and catch the ball. So, but we play, we'll play with 4 receivers as much as we can on the field. We've got some pretty good tight ends on this team, on this roster, and we'll find a spot for them. We believe those guys can contribute and play in this offense as well. But going forward, we'll chase as many receivers as we can. You look for guys that are just really productive, really good with the ball in their hands. And then you look for a mix of players. We'll sign guys that are – we had 3 guys at Washington State that were 5'9", 160, and all 3 of them were good players. Mm-hmm. And then we had some guys in between, and, the guy last year drafted by the Colts, Des Patman, was about 6'4", 230. So the difference in shape, sizes, and speed for that position is more diverse than any I've ever seen. But we'll play 4 receivers a lot. We'll have 8 receivers that will play in every single game, and we're looking for just guys that are tough and athletic and productive on the field in high school.
Steve Spurrier Jr. on ESPN 105.9 The Zone, wide receivers coach, MSU. You mentioned tight ends, so Spivey and Cumbus, there may be some others, but yep. People thought that think they are athletic and talented. They're still young. Walk me through that, Steve. Would you flex them out? How would that look?
Yeah, they'll be stand-up guys. We'll stand those guys up, and they'll play that wide position in this offense. And no, we will not play with an attached tight end, but they are athletic. We'll find mismatches for those guys, and they are athletic enough to run around and catch the ball. We've seen them kind of do that. So we'll find out what they do best, and we'll find out what their strengths are, and we'll put them on there and let them do it.
Yeah. Out of bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, Steve Spurrier Jr. Joining us and talking just his experience and going through the coaching ranks. And then, of course, Mike Leach's offense. He goes to Oklahoma in 1999. Leach's hired. Bob Stoops had the foresight. This is pretty cool. Obviously, Coach Stoops from Florida and your dad and everything else. But, we led with this like 2 months ago, Steve. For Stoops to have the stones and the foresight to hire Leach as a first-time head coach at a blue blood program that was used to running the wishbone, that took some guts, don't you think?
Yeah. No, it's pretty impressive. It's neat talking to Coach Stoops about that too. And I remember vividly asking him about that. He was the defensive coordinator at Florida, that 96 to 98. And he said, in 97, Florida beat Kentucky, I think it was 73-3. Tim Couch was there. They had a lot of similar players. The next year, when Hal Mumme came there, we beat them 38-35.
Wow.
And Coach Stoops said that. He said, here's the same team, same players, but it was a new offense. And he said, I knew I wanted to throw the ball. I didn't want to run getting 2 tight ends, or I wanted to throw the ball, and I needed to hire a guy who had experience throwing the ball. And I'll never forget this too. He said, I needed to make sure I hired a guy that had some offensive expertise tied to him, and we could recruit a quarterback. He said, we have to sign a quarterback. The quarterback in Oklahoma the year before they started was a guy named Patrick Fletcher. He was about 5'10", 180. And he was a walk-on quarterback that was the starting quarterback the year before that was returning. But he said, no, I want to be able to recruit a quarterback. So when Leach was there, and I was actually there, my first week in Oklahoma, Josh Heupel came on his official visit. And Josh Heupel was a junior college quarterback at Snow Junior College that split time with another guy. He wasn't even the full-time starting quarterback there. And Leach said, yeah, this is the guy. They said, well, we can win with this guy. So that whole period was really, I'm serious, it was neat watching what transpired at Oklahoma. Oklahoma had not gone to a bowl game for 5 years before Coach Stoops got there.
Incredible, because when I was growing up in the 80s, Switzer was dominating everybody.
Yeah.
You know, you remember that, Steve, running the wishbone with Jamel Holloway and all those dudes in the backfield.
Yeah, 5 straight years. And I remember actually at Florida listening to Coach Stoops say, you know, that Oklahoma job's a good one. Whoever gets that one, they got themselves a good job. So he knew it was a good job when he took it, but to hire Leach was unique. And to watch that, you know, that we had the lead in every game we played his first year, won the national championship the second year.
Wow.
I mean, there were some really, really cool experiences with Coach Stoops there at Oklahoma.
I remember reading in Swing Your Sword, Leach describes or talks about the weekend Heupel came in and basically nobody was on campus because the kids were gone for Christmas break. And he and Heupel are looking at all these tapes, and he said he was impressed because he was on as official, which means you can take him out to dinner and take him anywhere he wants. And he said, do you want to go to this steakhouse or something? And Heupel's like, no, I want to keep watching tape. And so they ordered Chinese or something in and kept watching film and tape, and that blew Leach away, and the rest is history with Heupel being able to run y'all's offense. That's just remarkable.
Yeah, most of those guys that you get, Gardner Minshew was the same way. I remember when he came out on his trip and we talked about this or that, he said, listen, I just want to play. I just want to play and get involved in the offense and go. It's all I want to do. It's all I want to talk about. That's, you know, anything else I have to do, let me know. But, yeah, I'm just when you get a guy that's played a little bit and has got some maturity in him, and, you know, that's the most important thing he can do is play the game. Yeah, those are the guys you're looking for.
Yeah, Gardner, we've had him in studio and so on. He's an impressive young man. You can just –
He's awesome. Yep, he is a charismatic, just a unique guy to be around, and just a wonderful teammate. No doubt about it. Yeah, I could tell you a bunch of stories about him in my one season around him.
That's cool. Steve Spurrier Jr., Mississippi State wide receivers coach on the Coors Light guest line. Well, Steve, man, thank you so much for giving us this much time today. We hope to be able to do it again soon. I know y'all would love to get cranked up in July if everything lines up, but we appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Thanks,
all right,
Steve.
That sounds great. All right, appreciate it. All right, Bo, all right, Blake. Have a great day, man.
Take care. See you, bud. Steve Spurrier Jr., wide receiver coach, Mississippi State, on the Coors Light guest line. The show is driven by your next GMC Sierra truck at Fowler Buick GMC. Right there on the Brandon Pearl line, FowlerBuickGMC.com. Tom Hudson and his team have the best selection of GMC Sierra trucks, both pre-owned and new. Visit their website right now, FowlerBuickGMC.com. How about that, Blake? That was fun. We've had his dad on the show, and what a great personality. You know, gave us something, and his ties to Florida, then Oklahoma, and of course he's been with Leach for a couple years at Washington State. Now one of the wide receivers. I think he's technically the outside wide receivers coach at MSU. Only Mike Leach would have two wide receiver coaches on the staff, outside and inside. This is a new day for MSU. They're not even going to know what to do. I mean, this program's basically run the football for 100 years. We're live in the Bank Plus studio, hour number 3 coming up.